दर्शन करता, ओम नमो हरिहंताणम, सिद्ध प्रभु ना दर्शन करता, ओम नमो सिद्धाणम, आचार्यों ने वंदन करता, ओम नमो आयर्याणम, उपाध्याय ने वंदन करता, ओम नमो उपाध्यायाणम, सर्व साधु ने वंदन करता, नमो लोए सब साहूणम, सम्यक दर्शन मुझने मर्जो, देसो पंचन मुक्तारो, सम्यक ज्ञान मुझने मर्जो, सव्वा पाप परासनो, सम्यक चारित्र मुझने मर्जो, मंगलानं च सर्वेषु, नवपदनी आराधना करता, परमं अभय मंगलम, परमं अभय मंगलम, परमं अभय मंगलम.
Jai Jinendra, everyone. Welcome to Living Beyond Barriers. This is our first webinar in a series of webinars that Enabling Network will be hosting, where we will dive into disability and neurodivergence through insightful discussions and interviews. For those of you who are unfamiliar with us, Enabling Network is an OAUK committee dedicated to supporting and advocating for our community's disabled members, promoting inclusivity and awareness within OAUK. And we've been running for about 13, 14 years now. Before we launch into today's discussions, I just would like to caveat our discussions by stating that if you or someone you know is facing issues that are being discussed today, information provided within the webinar is for awareness only, and it does not substitute for professional medical advice. However, if you would like to reach out to any of the EN team, please don't be scared. We're very friendly. But joking aside, please email us at en@oshwal.org. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce you to the three dynamic women who we have with us today, and who I would call founding mothers of EN. They join me today to discuss their journey of discovery in living with disabilities. Firstly, we have Urvina Shah with us. Urvina, would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, everyone. So yes, I'm Urvina, and as Shilpa's explained, I've been part of Enabling Network since its inception. And the reason I'm here today in my capacity as a speaker is that I have a daughter with learning difficulties. So hopefully we're able to talk through some of that today.
Next, we have Sarita. Sarita, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Jai Jinendra. First of all, my name is Sarita. And again, I've been with Enabling Network since its birth. I'm married to Rajesh, and I've got two children, Ronak and Vaishali, who have got physical disability. And I'd like to share my experience today.
Thank you, Sarita. And last but not least, we have Smita. Smita.
Hi, Jai Jinendra. Thanks, Shilpa. So my name's Smita, and I have two children. One's got sort of more difficulties than the other, but both have some cognitive difficulties. And I hope to share that journey with you today.
Thank you, ladies. That's great. I'd just like to, I think, go to Urvina first. Urvina, you mentioned that you have a daughter that has a disability. How did you find out that she had this disability, and what condition it was that she had?
My daughter, I have three children. She's my middle child. And to be honest, it was a bit of a gradual process, because there were little things that were cropping up that we felt, oh, you know what, she can't do that, or she can't do this, yet she can do some other things. And because I had a third child, I started noticing it even more. And the crunch point was when my brother-in-law, who's a physician in Canada, said to us, no, there is definitely something up with her. And because he had two children who were only 3 months older than her. And so he referred us to a pediatrician back there who told us that at that point in time, she was only around 18 months or so, and said to us, she's got hypermobility and hypotonia, which means a real flexible muscle tone. At that point in time, she wasn't speaking much, but he did seem to think that she also had speech and language difficulties. So then when we came back to England, we started the ball rolling with trying to understand and get some form of a diagnosis. And that it was a little bit of a battle, I have to admit, because there was an element of we were not believed by the professionals, because partly she was my middle child and was put down to middle child syndrome. I was a paranoid mother, all sorts of, I'm sure many people get that, you're not, and of course I was quite doubtful. So you kind of start believing that, I'm not sure I'm right or not. Anyway, long story, she did get, she was then referred to all the specialist therapies that were required for her. And her condition that she has, and I'll describe it in the way Mira, my daughter, describes it. And she tells people, well, imagine an umbrella, okay? And an umbrella protects you from all the rain that's falling on you. Well, for me, the rain comes from the umbrella because this umbrella is so big. She says, I have something called global development delay. And it's covers everything from speech and language disorder to development coordination problems to understanding nuances and interpreting and processing. And so she says, oh, the list goes on. So that's how she describes it, which I actually find is quite a nice way of describing it, because there's a lot of things that are going on within this umbrella of global development delay.
Wow, that's interesting. Considering that you say that she has a learning disability, that is so well put. It's incredible. So that's interesting. Thank you for that. Sarita, what had been your journey? How did you find out about your children's disability?
Okay, so firstly, I'd like to say to the listeners to understand that many conditions are not detected on the onset unless something goes wrong during birth, or if it has been identified during pregnancy by doing amniocentesis or any genetic test. Other thing is that my both were 35 years back, right? So then technology and facilities were not as much available as now. Also, the other thing is both, I'll talk about Vaishali first. Vaishali also did all the milestones like sitting, crawling. She started talking at 7 months, and she was walking, holding furniture or with the finger, walking around, taking few steps, but after a few steps, she would fall down. But because she started talking at 7 months, the medicals also told us that there are many children who walk later up until age of 4. And when one milestone is done way too early, there are other milestones taking place later. So we didn't know anything that was going wrong with Vaishali. She had clear speech, everything was going fine. Even the medical checkups nobody could identify or see anything wrong. So it was till we went to Kenya. One of my husband's aunt suggested, let's go and check, because she knew the physicians over there. And when they did a CT scan, it showed delayed myelination, but nothing else. And then obviously when we came back here to UK, we took it up. We were seen by Great Ormond Street and Northwick Park neurologist. And up until all the tests were done and everything, nothing, we never had any prognosis or diagnosis for Vaishali. Same thing. So for Vaishali, we found out at around age of 2, when she wasn't independently walking for longer distance. And for Ronak, we found out at the age of 5 when it came to not able to run as a normal child would run. But with, as I said, our condition had not been diagnosed till 2017. And both of them were there in their mid-25, around 25, mid-20s. We had gone on a project called 100,000 Genomes project done by National Hospital. And from there, they identified the gene which is related to the condition. We have been given the name, which is a very big name, so I have to read it out to you. It's called, the condition was identified as an inherited spinocerebellar syndrome, which is associated with a gene mutation of NKX62 gene. So basically, it's related to NKX gene mutation. That's it. So it's a genetic condition.
Thank you, Sarita. I think it's worth just clarifying a little bit that Vaishali is older than Ronak.
Yeah.
And so just to put it in people's minds as to the timeline you've just described, of who was diagnosed first. So that's quite good. So that is 2 kids with the condition. That's really something. And Smita, you mentioned that you also have 2 children each with their with some conditions that are challenging. So can I ask you to talk about how you found out about your kids?
Okay, so for my son, it was like Urvina's situation with her daughter, that everything looked normal, all the milestones, the developmental milestones are being reached. But as a mum, you know something is not right, and human nature, we compare to other children, and it looked like he wasn't talking like everybody else, or he was behaving very differently, very clingy, or cried in certain situations, which other children were fine with. So I knew something wasn't right, but you know, all the professionals you go to say, oh, it's everyone develops differently, so just go away, don't worry about it. But gradually it became like, I know something's not right. And then he didn't speak. Everybody, all his peers were talking and he's still not talking. So then the GP referred me to a pediatrician, and that pediatrician was amazing. She said, yes, there's a delay, so referred to speech therapy, tells you what to do and go away now. He's only 2, you know, come back if nothing changes. But things don't always change. And then he started nursery and school, and he just didn't behave like everybody else. And he screamed in so many situations. Now I know what that is, that sensory overload. But at that time, first child, you know, you want them to be that normal thing. So eventually we got a pediatrician who referred him and got him, in those days, it was called a statement of educational needs, which then helped him access a lot more therapy and treatments. Sorry, I shouldn't use the word treatment because it's not a disease, but more support. Eventually, through loads of therapies and all sorts of things, because as a mum with a child with anything that doesn't fit with the boxes as normal, you research and anything that you think will help, you try. So I've even tried healing. So, you know, sort of thinking that will help. He got loads of labels, but eventually as an adult, I think there's 2 labels that really stick, and that's dyspraxia and autism. I think that journey was hard because so many labels, and you don't know which one is actually the right label, but you have to treat your child. You know how to help him, but I think it's really hard. And then through that journey, I trained for learning about special needs, and I trained as a practitioner. And so when child number 2 came on, I knew all the signals, but her difficulties are very different. It's a specific learning difficulty called dyslexia, whereas my son has global delay, like Urvina's daughter. So that's an umbrella. It covers everything. There's no specific difficulty, but the dyspraxia does affect their coordination. And so it helps you, it signposts you to how to support them, because ultimately we want them to be independent human beings
Yeah.
and
Okay,
want them
so
to be happy. Sorry.
yeah, absolutely right. And kudos to you. Wow, to go away and become an expert in the field, to study and become an
Not an
expert.
expert, still not an expert. It's always learning.
Pretty good though. I just wanted to, I know we're talking here about the experiences you had, but I just want to take a little detour, slight detour. You said something about it's not a disease, it shouldn't be called a disease. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that? I think it's very helpful for people who don't deal with disabilities on a day-to-day basis as to what you're talking about there.
So when you tell people he's got a learning difficulty or he's got a condition, immediate is there a cure for it?
Yeah. Hmm.
And so no, there's no cure. It's not a disease. It's the way they're built. It's the way their brains work. So we have to stop thinking there's something wrong with them. We've got to start thinking how we can help them, support them, and develop, how they can develop. There are conditions, like my daughter has a health condition that is a disease, and treatment is required to make her feel better. So and we need to change that mindset that there's nothing wrong with someone who thinks differently or behaves differently.
Yeah, it's just different.
They're just different, and we're all unique, and we're all different, right? So have we all got diseases?
No, right. So just following on from that, how you had your son's older, your daughter's younger. This must have really had an impact on your family unit as a whole. How did you cope with that impact? And what kind of impact did it have on the family? Yeah.
Okay. Well, initially, I think for child number 1, it was a grieving process, because you think, oh no, there's something wrong. It's your first child and you have dreams. You've dreamt up this future they're going to have, and it's not going to happen for them. So I think it's a grieving process, but also socially, the extended family don't always understand these different behaviors or different ways of being, and they start making you feel like you're an inadequate parent, or you're not doing something right, or and then you think, oh, there's something wrong with your child, and you don't want to be around them because they're treating him or her differently. So initially it was like, I just can't deal with this, and I felt depressed or felt pity, because you get pity from others, and then you start comparing your family's children who are the same age as your children, and then you think, oh, that's not fair. So you see your child suffering because they feel it, they notice, they can feel that they can't do what their cousins are doing. So, but I think for me, I've just had to teach myself to accept him as he is, and just ignore everybody else. And if you can't understand my family, maybe you don't belong in my circle. I think the other impact is when you have a sibling that has a difficulty, there is that feeling of lack of attention or not being important enough. So I think my daughter always has and will always feel that we always prioritize the child with more difficulties. And yeah.
So that is interesting, because for Sarita, for you, they're both, you need to, I mean, one is probably, I know your kids, so I can say that one has slightly more difficulties than the other. But still, they both have they need a lot of support from all of you. So how did that impact your family unit, and how are you coping? How did you cope? How are you continuing to cope with it?
So, do we have a whole day here today? Okay, literally, I would be lying if I said it was easy or it didn't affect any one of us. It was very difficult, emotional, and heartbreaking as well, because when your child, as Smita explained as well, but when your child was growing as a normal baby, and all of a sudden you find that there is something wrong. Thing is, with my both, they didn't have learning difficulties. They understood everything. They had very high IQ. So if you read a book, they know the whole book next day, right? So all that. I mean, but again, like initially, it is a beating up period or grieving period, as Smita put it. But it was always this thing: what did we do? Where did we go wrong? Or why has it happened? Because there was no signals or no signs. And also, it's you're a first-time parent as well, so it's very difficult. And if the medicals don't catch any problems or signs, there's no way that as parents you're going to catch it either. But the other difficulty which I had to face was that, because we didn't have a diagnosis or prognosis, we had to take each day at a time. So now when you said Vaishali is the older one and she's a little bit severe than Ronak, I think I learned a lot from Vaishali in terms of what to put in process and to work, how to look for things and what to work for, which I had to apply to Ronak. And obviously there was a gap that Ronak's symptoms didn't show up till 5, whereas Vaishali's showed up till at the age of 2. But one of the things which took me out of this beating up period and crying and everything was something my mom had said to me. And she said that if you carry on crying, nothing is going to happen. The situation is not going to change. But if you work on her, you can build the child the way you want to. And that day changed my whole attitude completely. So the first thing which we had to do was acceptance. And I think that is the biggest hurdle one has to face. Acceptance. If you accept anything, you can climb mountains. And, I changed completely that it made my work easier to work with Vaishali, because I looked at her, all her positive strengths and worked on it. And also, obviously because she had walking issues, physical physiotherapy was put in place. But other than that, everything else I had to put in place, even how to teach her, how to, make her understand. She understood everything. So I didn't have that issue of making her understand. But the hurdles comes also when, you, as Smita put down, that family, social life, every angle, every step of their growth, there's a hurdle. Be it schooling, be it family, be it cultural, society, or even traveling. It really is a hurdle, and you come to become a brave person and ignore all those hurdles and get on with it. And I'm actually very proud to say that Ronak and even Vaishali finished her college with diploma, and Ronak managed to do university graduate and master's, and he's now full-time working as well. So I haven't done badly there.
No, and I think it is thanks to you Tiger mums. I mean, they are kids that are extremely talented. All your kids are in their own ways, but they need the support, and I think you guys have done a fabulous job of it. I think, Sarita, you kind of mentioned that learning from Vaishali gave Ronak a better start. I mean, just what you could do with him, which helped him develop a little bit better than Vaishali. Urvina, you have 3 kids. Mira's the middle one, and I don't think there's learning from your other children that where it is lacking, but you wouldn't have had that necessarily that help. How did you cope? How did it impact you, your family, and of course your other 2 children?
Do you know what? It turned our world upside down. I think traditionally we have this view, certainly from our backgrounds, is that, the kids have to attain a certain level of education, uni status, all the rest of it. And we were like that. We pushed my older child to that level, send him on hundreds of extracurricular activities, etc., etc., etc. I mean, he was around 4 when Mira was born. And actually, we didn't understand anything until around 17, 18 months with Mira. But once we did start knowing that what her issues were, it totally changed us completely as parents. And the one thing I have to say that it really impacted was my husband and I's relationship. Now, these sorts of things can either tear you apart or bring you together. And it was the thing that brought, not that we had a terrible marriage or anything, but it really brought us together because we had one common goal. And it changed our parenting, not only in the way we communicated with each other, but with the other 2 boys as well. The pressure was completely off all the boys. So my youngest was super lucky. My poor older one was our guinea pig. And so the way we brought them up, the way we communicated with them, everything was open, talked about. And of course, it affected the siblings completely, especially our older one, because he matured very quickly. He had to grow up very quickly because there was a time when it took us a while to understand everything. So we did find we kind of neglected the other 2 a little bit. And I'm sure many parents feel that. We just couldn't give them the attention that we needed to give to Mira. And the problem was we didn't understand it. We just couldn't understand, how does a brain work? How do we, parenting is hard enough, but then when you have to deal with a child that you don't get, you've not seen before, you've not been told, nobody's ever told you, how do you deal with that? And grandparents played a huge part in also supporting us. My mother learned everything there was to know about global development delay, rightly, wrongly, whatever. I know, Smita, she was on a course with you a long time ago. And so we had a lot of support from that. And I think without them, we would have struggled because they helped us in supporting the other 2, whether it was school runs, whether it was feeding them, so the challenges stayed for quite a while because all the children were under 5. And so as a mother, for me, it was huge. And I totally changed my perception of things, totally changed how I looked at others, totally changed. I decided to arm myself with absolute knowledge. And that's the one other thing I would certainly encourage any new parents to do is arm yourself with knowledge. You know your child best. You know how to fight for them. Yes, there are counsel services and whatever, but they do not know your child like you do. So you have to fight. You have to fight because there will be battles throughout their life. Mira at the moment is 21 years old and is working. Now, you asked me that at the age of 5 or 10 or even 12, I would never have imagined that she would be working full-time and traveling into London to do that.
Wow.
So by arming ourselves from very young, we were able to, I suppose, change their perspectives, the boys and Mira's. And Mira is always, always very aware of what her disability is. And as Smita pointed out, they know they know themselves. They, you know, you'll often get them, often she'll talk about, well, I wish I wasn't. I wish I didn't have the learning difficulties. But the fact is she has. And so you got to talk about it. And it's a reality. And the acceptance piece that Sarita was talking about too, you know, that grief lasts a long time. You feel, you go through the motions, you do everything in your power to get them the support they need. But there are moments still, even to this day, of grief. They don't last as long, but they are there. They're there. You know, your child or your cousin, the cousins go off to uni, your child is at home. Do you know what I mean? It's all of these things that you can't help but wonder, what if, you know, but it doesn't last as long over time. But what does help is arming yourself with knowledge, getting the support, whether it be outside of your family or within your family or friends. Just surround yourself with it. I mean, we here in our committee have a fantastic support system amongst us. And it is so for ourselves, for us as the mothers or fathers, to get that sounding board even, you know. So certainly, yeah, that's what I would leave it as.
So yes, that's really interesting. And also, you say that for everyone who's part of the enabling network has got quite a big network of sounding boards, of resource, of you know, many things. And the children have made a lot of fantastic friendships when they are attending these. I call them children, a lot of them are young adults, but you know, to us mums, I think they'll always be our kids. And what the way enabling network has changed everyone's lives, I thought we'd focus on how your lives have changed over time, apart from that, in your families. And Sarita, you've mentioned that you've learned, you accepted, you've learned how to do, you have to work quite hard, but they have qualified, you know, they've achieved things. How has that changed, or how has their conditions and how have your lives changed over time after all of that?
So the condition, you know, because it's physical disability, it's gradually gets worse and worse, right? So, you know, from walking to using a walker and then getting into wheelchair, and both of them are now in a wheelchair. So to handle on that aspect of, you know, handling both of them, obviously one has to be very, has to have a house which has got adaptations, right? So that literally takes away a lot of hardship. But it's, you know, like even like for me, even if I go anywhere with both of them, I've got two wheelchairs, so I have to put one in the car and then the other one. So taking in, out, all that. So it has now become a norm for us. It is difficult when one person is not around or is busy and one has to handle. But like you say, we macho women's, you know, we have the strength, so we are able to do for now. Although age, you know, we are all aging as well, so we don't get younger anymore. But I must say that it has made us stronger and more resilient to tackle any situation in life, right? So it's not just with them, but with any situation in life, you know, you are more ready to accept it and work on it rather than be, you know, feeling that, you know, oh, it's hard time. It's not never hard time. It has made me a very strong person. The other thing is, it also, one of the positive I will take out of this is that I had to be a physiotherapist, so learned all the exercises, be a speech therapist, be a teacher, be a doctor. And I've got so many hats, right? Forget about the mother's hat, but, you know, so many hats. You have to be also their friends, because, you know, as they grow older, all the cousins or older friends, they start moving and to their own lives. So, you know, that leaves them, just two of them. and you really need to be their friend more than anything. And as a family, both myself and Rajesh, we have made a point that, whatever decisions we have to make, whether it's for a bill or going out or traveling or whatever, even having dinner, we all sit down and discuss and deal with it. So they are now able to take a lot, especially Ronak. Ronak is able to take a lot of support and give us a lot of support as well. And I don't feel any different because I don't have a normal child, so I don't know what it would be otherwise. But to me, they are both my normal children.
That's so beautifully said. Thank you so much, Sarita. That is so nicely said. I'll go to Smita. Smita, how is it changing? And I'm sure it continues to change, but how has it changed and continues to
I
change?
mean, how can I add something after Sarita? It just has made me stronger. It's made my mindset different. Everything, no more negative. What you just deal with whatever is thrown at you. Every day there's a new challenge, and it's fine. You just get on with it. I think it's made me more aware about other people, more understanding, and stopped making. I don't judge now because everyone's got a backstory. So before we judge, we need to think there's something behind that. I just think we've become warriors, and we'll always be. I'm blessed because I've gone through a transition where I'm not so needed anymore, so I'm able to have my own interest life. And even though I can't just go away on holiday like normal 30-year-old parents of 30-year-olds would not have to look after their children or whatever, I can have some freedom. I can take a little bit of time out. So I'm blessed in that way. Whereas, Sarita, you would have to go with your children or arrange someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just made me it's made me a better person, I'd say, a stronger person. And hope I can help other people,
What a positive outlook. That's so over to you, Urvina. On that note, you have
Oh,
to
yeah.
top these guys.
I know, guys. I mean, this is the beauty of this team as well, because everyone is like that. They're resilient, they're positive, optimistic, they find solutions. And I think that's one of the big things that happened to me is that I became a coach to understand her. But in fact, it helped me transform my life, both at work and in life generally. And because Mira grew up with hearing coaching language or positivity, I hear her with her friends, like when she went on a PGL trip and they had to walk, and she's very slight. You've seen her, she's very short, she's small, and she had to carry this massive backpack on her and walk. And the other kids were struggling, and she goes to them, "There is no such thing as can't." I thought, oh my God, she's heard that 1,000 times from me. But and I think that's something we all do then, isn't it? Because you've got to find a way to enable them more positively, because it's already 10 times as hard for them. So yes, it has completely changed my life, my behavior, my perspective, people I surround myself with as well. So relationships, everything really. So I think if parents who have children, especially if they're young parents, to know that that is what you can become, that is how you change, that is what it can be a total turnaround of a life that you never imagined for the better.
Yeah, very, very inspirational. So thank you, ladies, for sharing your incredible journeys. And I'm hoping that some young parents are watching who are just starting their journey. There's so much light and at the end of these tunnels, and but there's also a lot of hard work, which needs to be done no matter what, right?
But
So,
life without hard work is never there, right?
no, that's
There's
true.
yeah, so it would be boring otherwise, right?
True that. So I hope that the viewers have gained valuable insights into life with disabilities. I just wanted to bring in one comment we've had. somebody said that as part of an autistic community, more information around speakers, a breakdown of the agenda, etc., is important because of the responses. They want to prepare themselves pre-event. I get that. It's some learning that we will take back. But in the meantime, please, if there is anything, please feel free to email us at ian@oshwal.org and just reach out. Agreed that we should have thought about that. Learning, as these ladies have said, it's all about learning. Another comment we've had is that there's a poem that describes the grieving period that you guys have mentioned. The poem is Welcome to Holland by Emily Pearl Kingsley, if anyone is wanting to look that up. Thank you so much for that information. So this is just the start of our series. Okay, so we have our next webinar on the 17th of November, same time, same place, guys. And we will take on board the comments we've had today and watch this space. I think if you were interested today, it's just going to get better. It's going to get more informative. So please join us again. And I'd just like to add that whilst we have begun as an EN team, understanding our community's needs, and we've achieved milestones in achieving whatever it is that, as I mentioned, our goals. We do need your help, the viewers I'm talking to now, to update our records and better try and address the challenges and strengths that you face. So if someone you know has a disability, we would be grateful if you would complete our survey. And this as it says very clearly there, this will help us in just collecting enough data to see where we're going, reach out to you, as any data helps anyone. We're also having so we're also having on October the 6th, we're having an event at Oshwal House. It's from 10 to 1 p.m. Lunch included, guys. It's an interactive workshop. So we had a workshop at the beginning when Ian had started, and we had gotten like a roadmap of where we wanted to go to. We feel that we've achieved quite a lot of those initiatives, and we want to, as any beast, we want to evolve and we want to move forward with it, but we want to take the entire community with us when we're moving forward. So we would like all of you, any of you, to join us for this workshop, where we want to collaboratively come up with further strategies that can help promote inclusion within our community. So please join us. Just a caveat that it's limited spaces, so please, you would need to register, and we have the link here for registration. So thank you guys for that. Now, what was I going to say next? Yes, so we also run, as Ian, run regular sports and social club sessions. Our next sports session is on the 27th of September at Ekta Center. If anyone has been inspired by today, please do join us, even if you just want to come and have a nosy, talk to parents, anything, it'll be great. Lastly, I'd like to extend my heartfelt thanks to all the UK media team, Kilit and Minesh. We wouldn't have been able to do any of this without us. Kilit spent quite some time with us, making sure we're exactly in the center of the screen and our lighting is fine. Thank you so much. So, and also, of course, without all the listeners who have joined us on this webinar, we wouldn't be doing it. So thank you so much for that. And if there's, as I mentioned before, if there's anything that you would like to talk to us about, to reach out to us, any suggestions, please do email us. Otherwise, I think we're at the end of our webinar today. So thank you and have a very good night. Thank you. Okay, guys. Great. Philip, if you're on, thank you so much. I think that went.
हरिहंत प्रभु ना दर्शन करता ओम नमो हरिहंताणम सिद्ध प्रभु ना दर्शन करता ओम नमो सिद्धाणम आचार्यों ने वंदन करता ओम नमो आयर्याणम उपाध्याय ने वंदन करता ओम नमो उपाध्यायाणम सर्व साधु ने वंदन करता नमो लोए सब साहूणम सम्यक दर्शन मुझने मर्दो सम्यक ज्ञान